video is going to get to a point, my prediction, Netflix and everyone else will have like an AI video generator portion on their platform where you're going to say, hey, I want a video with like Chris Hemsworth as the lead actor. It's going to be like an action movie. It's going to have like these things. Maybe they have an AI model that can help you come up with fun like script things. And you can change it around and pick who the actors are and pick the settings and then click generate. You're going to be able to direct your own movie. It's going to be amazing. And whether or not that's a literal product in Netflix, like that will exist as a product somewhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Next Big Thing HQ, where we interview founders and showcase startups that are raising capital via Reg CF. This episode, we interviewed Jaeden Schafer. Jaeden is the founder of AI Box, a no-code, drag-and-drop AI app builder and marketplace. This episode I loved. We talked about the macro of AI. We talked about his Reg CF round currently and how it's going, that process is going, and also how AI is going to boost productivity in the future and what he thinks is going to be the next block or next domino to fall in the AI industry. Super excited. AI Box has raised over $300,000 already from 300 investors. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode. Bye-bye. You've always been an entrepreneur. You started in marketing. Then you got into AI around 2020. You started with Self-Pause app. You scaled that to 120,000 users, which is awesome. But building a startup in AI, it has to be exciting, but also nerve-wracking. Like fast is an understatement describing the pace of change and what's happening. So what are kind of the emotions that you go through building AI Box, scaling AI Box with all this change constantly coming in the industry every single day?
It can feel overwhelming for a lot of people, whether it's like, oh my gosh, there's a new AI tool that like impacts my job. And then me as a software builder, I'm like always like on the lookout, like, is there anything that's going to like compete with me? Is there anything I need to be concerned about? That day by day, reevaluate what you're building, change features and stuff. I mean, even to the point where like, I've been building AI Box for the last year. We're getting excited to launch it. We're hopefully going to launch the beta this quarter. And so it's been an amazing process, but literally like we just had OpenAI, who just launched their own app builder and marketplace. So like when they made those announcements, I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to kill our ideas or what? Like, how are they going to do it? The good thing is, because I run the AI chat podcast, I have access to like a lot of legit people. I interviewed the head of developer relations at OpenAI.
Really?
And I was like, so what's going on with the GPT store? How's it going to work? You know, put other models on there, like yada, yada. I got the lowdown from him that they're like really just focusing on OpenAI's tools. They're just trying to drive traffic on those. And it's going to be a lot more rudimentary essentially. So I was like, okay, good. Like we still got room to like go and grow and be a big platform. But yeah, I think, you know, that's my experience there. But I think everyone will have that experience, whether it's software you're building or whether it's your job and like, can AI automate what your current job is doing? How do you need to evolve? What do you need to learn?
Yeah, because it's going to impact a lot of different industries, right? So you have to understand AI, understand the tools, because it's coming. There's no stopping AI. But talking about AI Box, what's the story behind AI Box and what's the problem AI Box is trying to solve?
Yeah. So, you know, my background in software is I started Self-Pause. It's the #1 AI life coach. And we scaled it to over 120,000 users. I saw like just how powerful AI can be, how much it can help people. And then at the very end of 2022, we were looking at a bunch of different AI products and ChatGPT had just come out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this unlocks like so many of these AI product ideas that I had like on a notes app on my phone. So I have a friend and he's now the CTO of AI Box. And I was literally hitting him up like every day, harassing him with like Jillian and I, the CPO. We'd come up with like 10 new AI products a day. And we're hitting him up. We're like, hey, can we do this? Like you're talking about them all. Eventually we got to the point where he's like, okay, like there's so many ideas. Like we don't need to build 100 different AI tools. We need to build a platform that lets you build the tools. And that was kind of the aha moment for us. We realized we needed to build a platform to enable this and a marketplace. And then I think we're way ahead of our time, evidently, because now we're seeing OpenAI doing similar things with just their tool set. We're seeing Quora just raise $75 million from Andreessen Horowitz to scale up their chat bot, which is through Poe and like their creator program there. So like, obviously the market believes this is a really important idea. I think we're doing it at a depth and scale that's far beyond anyone else. So that's what I'm excited about. And there's no way we would have been able to do that, you know, had we started today. Like this is something we've been doing for like, we've been running on for a year. So I feel like at least we had like a big head start on it. It's been a grind, but it's been a ton of fun.
Well, and I think, you know, the news this week with the GPT store coming out, it's definitely a signal that creating a marketplace for creators to create some sort of AI workflow is definitely going to be the future. But how does AI Box differentiate from the GPT store?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest things I will say is like, I'm excited about the GPT store. I feel like it's validating to our idea and it gets people in the door with this concept of like creating AI tools and making money from a marketplace. The big difference is the GPT store is only the open AI tools, which right now, like ChatGPT is like, I'd say the best text one, but it's not the best. DALL-E isn't the best image. Like Midjourney is the best image, and it's not the best audio. I think 11 Labs is the best audio, and it's not the best video. Runway kind of has that for now, and there's, Pika Labs and others that are kind of coming out with those as well. So when I look at this, I think that the market is going to get very fragmented in the future. There'll be thousands of AI models, and there's already some really impressive. I was looking at like the rankings, independent rankings and benchmarks, and Mistral, the open source AI model, is right below ChatGPT as far as power, but it's above Anthropic, which is $1 billion company. So there's going to be a lot of these open source models that are virtually impossible for the average person to use. We'll be able to host those open source models and allow everyday people to use them all on the same account. You don't need 100 accounts for all your different AI tools. You have one platform for all of them. And then you'll be able to build a lot more powerful, customizable tools because we have a really impressive app builder where essentially it's like, you just link together your different AI models. So you pull in ChatGPT, get that to write an article. You pull in Midjourney, get that to create pictures for it. Pull in Runway and get that to create like a video you can embed on there. You can make these really like complex workflows that is just not possible on the GPT store. Is a little bit more basic. It's kind of like little chat tools, which is cool. And I love the concept, but it's not, this robust beast we're building.
And in previous interviews, you've talked about the importance of being model agnostic. So why is being model agnostic super important? And I guess also too, for the listeners that don't know, can you define what being model agnostic is?
Yeah, so pretty much model agnostic means that you can switch between any model. This is a big part of our platform for two reasons. The first reason is like, we know these models do experience downtime. So like sometimes like I'm on ChatGPT and it's like, we hit our bandwidth limit, something glitched, it just isn't working. So what we'll have in AI Box is the ability that if that happens, you can set up a backup model. So like ChatGPT is my main model for the text computation on this tool. But if for some reason that's down or any other tool is down, it'll automatically switch to Anthropic's Claude or to Mistral or whatever. So that's from like a no downtime perspective. That's cool. Beyond that though, I think it's important because a lot of people, they go and build these like big software tools and they're like, okay, we're betting the farm on Anthropic and Claude. We're building this whole tool out with that. But then maybe all of a sudden ChatGPT takes some major leaps forward. They release GPT-5 and it's like, okay, well, Claude was sort of like on par with GPT 3.5 and 4 before, but now it's like getting smoked. We need to change it. And sometimes the prompts are completely different. Like there's a lot of things that are completely different and it's difficult to go update the whole software. So with AI Box, you can literally just have a drop down, you switch it. Now you got a new model running that and it's very easy to switch it out. And I think it's important to not be stuck in one platform.
Yeah, it prevents you from being anchored down and it creates constant reliability, being able to switch from model to model because you never have to worry about the internal problems that ChatGPT might have, OpenAI might have, Anthropic. But with that being said, I guess a lot of news this week. Perplexity raised 520 pre?
Yeah.
Or they raised a 520 valuation pre. And there's also CES 2024 show. I don't know if you saw any of the products from CES, but there's been a massive push with AI, obviously coming more AI products. But what do you think, I guess, the future is in the next couple of years with AI going forward?
Yeah, so obviously I think this is huge. There's two things that I will say are my like predictions for AI in the future that you can expect. The first one is video is about to have its like ChatGPT moment, right? So we have like, honestly, image is pretty dialed in, like Midjourney V6. I don't know if you've tested it out. It's insane. It's amazing. So I feel like we really have a solid grasp on image. So it's going to get better, but like that's pretty freaking good. And then of course, ChatGPT is great. They're going to do GPT-5 when that comes out. It's going to get better. So, I mean, I was listening to something from Sam Altman. He was talking to Y Combinator and he was like, hey, if you're solving a problem that's like a defect of GPT-4 or like something it can't do, he's like, don't do that business because GPT-5 is going to solve all those problems. Like just look at like some platform shifts and those kind of things. But video is not very nailed down. So we have like Runway's like the big one and then Pika Labs just came out and they have a solid one, but it's like, feels like the first version of Midjourney. So it's like very, very rudimentary. And I think video is going to get to a point. My prediction is you'll have like Netflix and everyone else will have like an AI video generator portion on their platform where you're going to say, hey, I want a video with like Chris Hemsworth as the, lead actor. It's going to be like an action movie. It's going to have like these things. Maybe they have an AI model that can help you come up with fun like script things. And you can change it around and pick who the actors are and pick the settings and then click generate. and Chris Hemsworth's going to get like some sort of small commission or like royalty because he's in your movie and whoever other actors are in it or whatever. You're going to be able to direct your own movie. It's going to be amazing. And whether or not that's a literal product in Netflix, like that will exist as a product somewhere. You'll be able to do that. So video is going to get very good. And then my other big prediction, and I mean, I don't even know if it's a prediction because we're seeing this coming down the pipe, is, and from CES, like you mentioned, is like AI and robotics will be huge. Samsung just announced they have like that little rolling robot that rolls around your house with like AI and it can do stuff for you and project like stuff. And I think with Tesla's humanoid robot, when that comes to market, like these things will be massive for disruption, especially if you think about like right now, AI, people are like, oh my gosh, AI is displacing like white collar workers that are like writing articles in their marketing department, right? So like that's like obvious. But then it's like, I have a lot of friends that are like in software and they're building software like at the same time as me. They're like, oh man, I just feel like I want to be like a plumber because like this is all just like moving too fast and OpenAI just like killed the product that I was building and blah, 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 right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds good, but like give it 5 years and Tesla's humanoid robot is going to have AI in its brain. It's going to be a trained plumber and electrician. That area will see some insane disruption as well. The only bottleneck for us at this point, I think, is of course like AI development, but we're making a lot of progress there. It's like unlimited energy. Like how are we going to fuel that many humanoid robots theoretically? How do we get our energy very, very cheap? I think the solution is nuclear. People are talking about fusion, but that hasn't like 100% materialized. Nuclear's here. So if we embrace nuclear, we pretty much could fuel and fund insane productivity gains in the next 5 years.
I was listening to an interview with Brett Adcock and he starts Figure, which does humanoid robots. And he was saying he thinks that this is going to be $1 trillion industry. And if you think about it, like a lot of the warehouses have shortages, massive labor shortages. Mm-hmm. They can't get enough people to work. You hire humanoid robots just for that industry. They can work 24/7, 7 days a week, nonstop. You don't have to pay for any like insurance, any of the life. More or less, the model is just leasing them out. And it's going to solve massive problems for the business because they don't have enough employees, and also help them continue to fulfill orders so the customers can continue to get their shipments on time. I think that's going to be a very exciting future. Now, talking back about the video, let's say we use AI Box to create a video. So can we create a video using one of the models and then also have it create like a transcript at the same time too? So we have the video and like the transcript. Can you walk us through an example of like using AI Box for creating like, let's say like a short film?
So because the video technology isn't there, I'm not going to tell you what you can't build any video integrations with AI Box currently. And I mean, we'll have to have API access to like a lot of these tools to get there. So, I mean, I can speculate on where we'll bring this in the future. It's going to be a big part of our vision, but like, as far as actual right now, you can't do video stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, like you could, if you had an API to Runway, yeah, you throw whatever video you're able to generate on Runway, then you tie that to something like 11 Labs where you can upload a video file and it would give you like a transcript, or you could throw a transcript in there and it could give you an audio file like narrating the whole video. So like that would be a pretty cool integration. Let's say you like want a documentary with a voiceover and it's not necessarily maybe actors speaking throughout the whole thing. You could do that. You could change the voices. There's all sorts of amazing things you could do there. But yeah, I mean, we're not there yet with video. We will get there though. And I don't think it's going to be very long before that happens.
That's exciting. And then with AI Box, you're creating a platform. You got the creators and then the consumers, right? So it's kind of like a two-sided marketplace. So from the creators aspect, can I create the model and then provide it? Is it like similar to an app store where they put it on the platform and then users use it? And then do they get some sort of royalties for when the users use the app?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the model. So if you're a user, you pay a subscription to the platform, which gives you a certain amount of credits, and you can use, a certain amount of tools. Power users will pay more. They'll get more credits. They'll be able to use a lot of stuff. If you only need a little bit, you'll have a smaller, subscription price. And then creators will get paid a royalty every time their tools that they use are run.
That's a great idea because there's incentives for creators. And then clearly this is a tool that's, I think, going to really help productivity. We were talking earlier and I was like, this to me is just screaming enterprise. I work at KPMG and I can only imagine in the future using a tool like this to help. I don't know whether it's just more accounting based or maybe more creativity. Maybe it's creating presentations and then having audio in the background. I see this as, really increasing efficiency going forward and a tool that a lot of enterprises are going to want to use. Now, you have 3,500 people on the wait list right now. And you also have a podcast too, AI Chat, and that has AI Chat, AI Hustle, and AI Applied, over 2 million downloads, which is awesome. Congrats on that. That's Massive. So talk about the impact that the podcast has had just on building the AI Box brand, and I guess where you see the podcast going forward and the role the podcast is going to play.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually got this podcast started last year in February. I think we just raised like 100 grand for AI Box. So it was like a small angel round. We just had the idea, like a concept, that we talked to someone and kind of got some first money in. And so I was starting to talk to some preliminary investors back then, like putting feelers out and stuff. And someone was like, "Oh, that's a super cool product, but like if you want to be able to raise any money, you need to be like famous on Twitter." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I still to this day, to this day, dude. I mean, I would if I could. I have not cracked Twitter. I promise, like almost every other platform, like for growth, I know how it works. Twitter, I don't have the magic algorithm there. And I'm like, what could I do? And I'm like, well, like podcasts are very high quality, like followers essentially. And I've done a lot of podcasting in the past. The concept was like grow an audience so that when we launch, we have like someone to tell about it, right? And to kind of get first users in. And then the podcast just like kind of just blew up and went crazy on its own. Like you said, started a couple more, but over 2 million listens on them. And so, yeah, I mean, just a very popular topic. We had it obviously got started at a good time when, a lot of people were discovering ChatGPT for the first time and coming to the podcast to learn about it. And to this day, a lot of people now stick around for the AI news and updates that we bring. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, a big learning experience. And the podcast was a rocket ship, which is kind of the first rocket ship, and AI Box should be the second rocket ship that we'll be seeing this year. So I'm excited for it.
With AI Box, you're raising a Reg CF round. So you're on Republic raising a Reg CF round. You have 300 investors and you've raised over $300,000. Talk to us about how's that process been, and then how are you planning on allocating the money to continue to grow and scale AI Box?
It's been a great experience. Republic's a really solid platform. They have great support. Honestly, like they do a ton of due diligence. You get an attorney, you get an accountant, you go through all your numbers and a lot of stuff and make sure everything's done correctly. So that was fantastic help from them. Really appreciate the platform. It's been a lot of fun. If other people are interested in raising money, the only thing I will say is, don't expect a platform like Republic or Start Engine or anything to like bring you the investors per se. I'd say like all those successful campaigns I've seen, you need to have an audience that like you are bringing the investors to. And so I think that's a big element that a lot of people overlook. But the experience has been good. Like you mentioned, we've raised $300,000 and we have over 40 days left in our campaign. So we can raise up to $1.2 million. And so we're still pushing and working on that to grow. But yeah, I think we're really excited. Essentially, all the money that we're raising on Republic right now is going towards development and getting and building out the product and the platform so it's ready to launch and it's possible. The thing with AI that's really critical is security, data privacy, encryption. Like the platform has to be bulletproof for enterprise to be able to use this essentially. And so that's something we put a lot of resources and time into, making sure it's a very high quality and solid in that regard. So that's essentially where we're allocating this round of funding from. And then we'll be launching and expect to be profitable and very profitable not too long after launch of the platform.
So you said you're planning on launching the beta this quarter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you walk us through, I guess, what to expect with the beta, and then how can we find out when the beta is coming out?
Yeah, so I mean, the best way to find out about it is to get on the wait list, aibox.ai. What we'll be launching first, so with every marketplace, there's the issue of the chicken or the egg, and you saw OpenAI did this exact same thing, so it's going to be the same where we'll launch a beta first where you can get in there and build tools, you can automate your workflows, and use those personally as you want. And then once we feel like we've made sure that we've really nailed that system down and it's exactly what people want and we've worked out any changes or anything like that, then we'll unlock the marketplace side of it as well, where people can actually host them on the marketplace and make money. So those will be like the two phases. But the first phase when we launch will be the app builder, which is like for your own personal use is insane. I already use it. I've actually been using it all year because we had like a very simple kind of builder that we had built out and now it's a lot more robust. But I've been using it all year and essentially I have a bunch of like, we call them boxes, like these apps that you create, but I got a bunch of boxes for like one that creates a newsletter, one that creates articles, one that creates like a bunch of different tasks that I have to do or I would have had to do a lot. Then I have a virtual assistant that I give them the login. So they jump on, I just tell them the process and they use these tools. It's like a speed boost for them. You know what I mean? It's amazing. So if you're doing your own internal processes, this will speed up all your workflows. Then if you have like something like a virtual assistant, or eventually we'll just have third-party software integrations. So you only have to touch stuff. It'll all be automated and save you a lot of time. It'll be incredible.
That sounds amazing. So how much time do you think it saves you using the app builder?
So here's the thing, like if you're already using AI tools, you know how much time AI is saving you. This is like the next step, in my opinion. So like, for example, it's like an insane amount of time.
I can only imagine.
Like I can't even calculate.
Automated too, right?
Yeah. So like, for example, with self-pause, we did a thing before ChatGPT existed. It was using an API to OpenAI's previous project, which is called DaVinci. And it was through a software called Jasper. So they're like an AI text generator. I had Jasper like, I think like July, not last year, but the year before. And I was like blown away. It would only write you like 3 or 4 sentences at a time. And you had to keep prompting it to keep going. But I was like blown away by what it could do. I had 2 virtual assistants on my account like 24/7. I quickly scaled up to the $800 a month tier because I was blown away by how much content this thing could like churn out. And like, it was still very labor intensive. It took us months and months and months. And we generated 3,000 articles for like some products and then projects. And then we had like a person go through and like read them all and fact check them and make sure they were all good and stuff. And this would have been like, I want to say like maybe the equivalent of GPT-3, but maybe even like slightly worse. So, or ChatGPT, the free version. So that was like a long process but like virtual assistants, we're still using AI to generate everything. Now, flashback to like, I want to say like a week ago, we built out some like really robust tools using our AI box like software and stuff. And this is just for internal. So like we just internally use, but we were able to generate 80,000 articles for a project and for a test that we were doing that all had 3 images per article. They all had an embedded YouTube video. They all linked to each other. Yeah, I mean, it was like hours for like 80,000 articles across 20 different sites. Like you can build some insane things in like hours instead of, I think I spent like maybe like 3 months for 3,000 articles. Now we're talking 80,000 articles and automatically posted to the WordPress websites. So like all you did is uploaded the keyword list of keywords, which probably could automate that too at some point. But yeah, 80,000 articles in like, some number of hours within a day period,
So when is the rest of the public going to get access to this app builder?
I mean, yeah, so that's going to be the beta, and I can't promise all the bells and whistles on the beta launch, but like we'll be rolling out some really incredible stuff here that we'll be able to, like you mentioned, this is like absolutely a game changer for enterprise and for scale. So if like you want to scale things up, it's very cheap, high scale. It'll be incredible.
Yeah. Well, talking about scale, you have a track record of consistently being able to scale. Self-paused, 120,000 users, the podcast, 2 million downloads. What are some of the lessons you've taken from Self-Pause, the podcast that you're implementing with AI Box in order to continue to scale it up and scale it to massive numbers?
This is not a traditional takeaway that I think most people will have, but like my background is in digital marketing. I taught advanced digital marketing at university. So like, this is like where I see kind of like the realm of like scale and distribution today. And that is that every platform, whether it's the App Store, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple's podcast, every platform or YouTube, every platform is an algorithm, and there's millions of algorithms, and it's so freaking hard to predict what piece of content, what piece of software, what article, what video that you generate will do well. And so my strategy has always been create a ton of things and then figure out which of those are the winner and then scale those things up. And so with the podcast, what I don't tell a lot of people about is the podcast, right? Like obviously crushed it. I actually started 10 AI podcasts and I gave them all a different name, and I recorded 10 episodes and put them on each. And I waited like 2 weeks and found which one organically got the most traction. Then I took that one. That's the one that I scaled and is AI chat today and is like really doing really well. I can't predict which of those 10 titles was going to do the best, which algorithm was going to pick it up. But if you just make 10 of them, one of them is going to work and you run with that. Same with self-pause. I mean, we use that strategy a lot. And for example, like that project I told you where we generated like 3,000 articles. I didn't know which ones would work, but like inevitably about 20 of those 3,000 articles generate like 20,000 clicks to the website every month from Google. So like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with video. And so I think for AI Box, how we'll essentially benefit from that is 2 sides of it. Our marketplace will have thousands and thousands of tools. Some of those will do really, really well. There's the 80-20 rule where 20% of those are going to do 80% of our revenue. And those ones are ones that we're going to focus on. We're going to scale up. We're going to work with the creators to make them better, to make them more polished, to make these things really shine, because that's going to be bringing in our revenue. And so I think on the app side, that will be the focus. And then at the same time, on the actual AI models itself. So something that I think not a lot of people are thinking about is the fact that Earlier last year, Stanford did a study where they took all the publicly available medical journals and they created PubMed GPT, which was trained on all this medical information and it could answer medical questions. They said, this thing's pretty good. It can answer questions pretty good. But if you wanted this to be better, but you'd go more in depth. So you'd have like a breast cancer GPT and like a heart disease GPT, just trained off of data surrounding that topic with experts fine-tuning it around that topic, and that will be better. And that's where I see the industry as a whole going. There will be thousands of AI models that are very good at doing very specific things. And so from a platform perspective, I'm not going to tie myself down to one or two or three key players, right? The Gemini, Anthropic, OpenAI, right? I'm going to go with 1,000 different platforms. Some of them will go viral, some of them will trend. And the only place that you're going to be able to access these open source models and easily use them will be our platform. And so we're really like betting big on that fact. And I think that's going to pay out dividends.
So you think that there's going to be, in the future, AI is going to become more of like experts in certain fields. That way they can provide the most succinct, nuanced information possible for that specific user. So it's going to be much more of a specific use case instead of what ChatGPT is right now, where it's more pretty general. You can ask it just about anything, may get it right, may not get it right. You're not really sure, but it's going to go much deeper instead of wider.
Yeah. And I will say, like with a caveat, I do believe there's going to be the general purpose AIs, like OpenAI is going to crush it for a long time. But even OpenAI and GPT-4, when like the model weights were leaked and like a lot of how it works was leaked last year, what they discovered was inside of GPT-4, there's essentially like 16 experts. And so when a question comes in, there's a model that determines which of these quote unquote experts or miniature kind of smaller models will answer it best. And that's like if it's math or if it's reasoning or if it's more artistic. And so that's why sometimes when you prompt ChatGPT in a certain way, you can change your prompt a bit and get like a completely different or better response. And why the prompting actually matters at the moment anyways. And so there'll be these general ones that try to do the mini experts, but there's no way you're going to have 1,000 experts. There's no expert inside of ChatGPT that's a heart disease expert. You know what I mean? And so I think you'll have these general purpose ones that are pretty solid. But like if you want it to go from 80% to 100%, you're going to need like an in-depth custom GPT specific for that topic.
Well, last question, advice for aspiring entrepreneurs. What advice would you give them today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say start now. A lot of people like complain about, I think if you're starting and you're wanting to do software specifically, since that's my niche, but like there's a lot of other businesses if you're just an aspiring entrepreneur. But if you want to do software, I would say like a lot of people hate on what they call GPT, like OpenAI GPT wrappers. Like, oh, your tool's not that cool. All it is it's like, it takes like ChatGPT and it like creates, I don't know, like show notes for like a podcast. Like that's not that like complex. ChatGPT could just do that. I actually think there's like some serious value. You can get those websites spun up very fast and very cheap and do their like very niche specific marketing where someone might just Google like automatic AI podcast show notes and find this tool that you create and use that. And they're like, I don't want to go figure out the prompts on ChatGPT. I don't want to integrate it. I don't want it to automatically post. So people like look down on those businesses. But I think if you're just getting started, some of those like OpenAI wrappers are actually a great way to get started. I know everyone hates on them, but they can generate like $20,000 a month if you scale these things up. And I've seen a lot of really impressive examples where they're making like $100,000 a month from like what some people would like say, oh, this is just like a OpenAI ChatGPT wrapper. And then it does like a couple of fancy integrations. But like people will pay for the ease, so they'll pay for the fancy integrations. So that's my advice.
Well, Jaeden, I appreciate it. If you want to come on when you release the beta and show the world the demo, I'd love to have you on. I'm super excited for AI Box. Obviously, I follow and I listen to AI Chat. It's a great way to increase my AI content that I need to consume more and more in the future. So that's really exciting. And for all the listeners out there, check out AI Box on Republic. They're currently raising for the next 40 days. Check them out. And Jaeden, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
It's been great.
We'll see y'all next time on Next Big Thing HQ. So long.